And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're talking about Forspoken. Thank you for your patience. If you were waiting to see our impressions of this one, we're a little late. We didn't get our hands on it early and we didn't want to rush it. Forspoken is a weird game. I'm not the biggest fan of it, straight up. It's not a disaster, it just feels like something was really missing here. Something I can't quite put my finger on. Maybe like too many cooks in the kitchen, or something get lost in translation. I don't know. I say that because it's an ambitious idea on paper and one that I straight up want to love. First, I mean the people working on it, the team up of Japanese game developers from Final Fantasy and Western writers and creatives like Bear McCreary, Amy Hennig, and a few others. And then secondly, the concept itself. You know, it's a big next-gen game with high-speed magical parkour where you're a girl from New York thrust into this magical world. Sounds really awesome, right? Well, what we have here kind of feels like a jack of all trades, master of none. Something that gets caught up in the paint by numbers and ends up just being a bit dull. It has a lot of frustrating elements to it, but some decent gameplay, but it wasn't enough to save it for me. That's just me, of course, so let's break it all down a bit. The story set up here, you play as Frey, a 20-year-old woman who lives in New York City, who finds herself in and out of court for stealing, and she's at the end of her rope. You know, she has no family. She was discovered as a baby in the Holland Tunnel, so her last name is Holland, and that's actually pretty cool if you ask me, but she's in cahoots with like these local, really corny looking criminals, but she wants out. She's basically left penniless and homeless, and just when she's totally screwed, she finds a magical bracelet thing that transports her to the magical world of Athia, with no way back home. This magical bracelet, nicknamed Cuff, talks and gives Frey some magical powers, and the ability to resist the corruption that is poisoning this world, turning its citizens into zombies and tearing the landscape to pieces. So, she's the special, unlikely hero outsider in a world of people with strange customs and cultures, and she's confused all the time, just says the F word a lot, and nobody knows what she's referencing half the time. And after finding some actual motivation in this world, she sets out to get more powerful and fight monsters and dragons and these powerful kind of fallen leaders. Now, like I said, that is a cool setup. That's a good pitch right there. Fish out of water, normal person in a fantasy world. You know, Ash in Army of Darkness, Thor finding his way on Earth, Joe Pesci and My Cousin Vinny. I mean, we've seen this, and I think we've seen this plot in some games, I think, at this point, but it's still cool enough where it should work. But the problem here is that the characters and the world, the presentation, the cutscenes, none of it is very interesting. Now, a lot of that can hinge on the writing and the dialogue. There's a lot of it, and it can be very quippy. Yeah, you may have seen clips. I've seen some people say it's like MCU jokey dialogue, but whatever it is, for me, it ended up in a lot of cringe-inducing jokes and just characters that you can't really connect with. Everyone I was kind of mixed on. I found Frey sometimes awkward and charming and real, other times completely grating and just totally fake. The Cuff, the talking bracelet, has the occasional good joke, but falls kind of flat. And then supporting characters are mostly forgettable, except for some of the bosses. They have good energy, but all that coupled with a world that I just didn't care about saving made for not a great combo. The last big bastion of civilization is holed up in this big empty city you go through, and everyone is kind of just like a basic medieval trope person, making most side quests and conversations not very appealing. The city itself is pretty barren. It's really big, but empty. But it looks cool, like really cool. Whoever was behind the actual visual design behind it was on point and heavily inspired. Definitely majored in art history or something. I love the way it looked. Now, the thing that really took me out of a lot of it was that the game just has a really rough start. It's extremely slow. You know, like walk 10 feet and another cutscene happens just to tell you something that could have been a pop-up, and it's slow and it's sluggish. Like you stop, there's a pause, the character talks slowly, then there's another pause, and then the next character talks. And then the game waits like 5 seconds before actually letting you walk again. There are also so many scenes that unnecessarily fade to black and fade back in. It's just very jarring, and something about it all feels kind of incomplete and sloppy. Really, all this kills any pacing and excitement and really wonder of first getting into this world. There's a couple cool moments at the start, but mostly it falls flat. And I mean, I love a story-heavy game. I like a walking simulator. I like story as much as the next guy, but this is just awkwardly paced. Now, after some really frustrating sequences for a significant amount of time, like once you're finally out in the open world, you're set out, you're fighting enemies, you're parkouring around at high speeds, the game definitely gets better. It's all about casting magic with the triggers, charged attacks with cooldowns and ultimates, but also running around and positioning. The game encourages you to run and dodge to kind of auto-dodge certain attacks, and you have a cool little protect counter when you get hit sometimes, and there's quite a bit to a lot of it. Each trigger kind of gets like a weapon wheel select for all the different spells, and you can do a lot. There are side and behind enemy bonuses, so the game wants you to run around and use all of your tools and get the proper positioning right and then casting. And it can be chaotic and kind of messy with it all in a way that doesn't feel totally smooth. It's hard to explain, but you get used to it. Some people might not like the way it feels, but with the DualSense and all the visual effects and getting into chaining stuff together, doing mid-spell dodges for even cooler bonuses and flourishes, all of it like made it feel much more satisfying. It certainly isn't perfect, but it's mostly fun. It's way better with larger enemies in more arena-style areas. Blasting smaller creatures or slow zombies in the open world that just kind of disappear into the backdrop, like they don't even look colorful. A lot of that is not thrilling at all. But the large enemies can be pretty chaotic and fun to fight, especially when they're filling the screens, even if the lock-on and the camera throws you off sometimes. Blasting, flipping, dodging, and super running, when it all really works, like it can be fun. Like you can run, hit an enemy with a poisonous seed thing, cause long-term damage, then drop plants that shoot enemies, then start hurling some rocks at enemies like bullets from your hands, and then it gets better over time, really, with like the later game spells, because you're given a lot more choice. You're gonna be hurling fire spears and energy blasts and cooler melee attacks. And that translates over to traversal too. You know, first you're just running super fast, but then you're boosting yourself up walls and kind of lasso flinging yourself around the environment without spoiling all of them. It does improve. Free running has a good sense of speed to it too, and even if you'll occasionally get screwed up, it still feels powerful to like blast around at just the right amount of auto jumping over objects and stuff with cool animations, and you can cover a lot of ground because the game's open world is massive. The biomes are varied, but it's a lot of just open world stuff to do. Higher level enemies to take on for bonuses, little challenge dungeons, bases to clear, special items to find that'll help you see more of the map. It's open world busy work, which, I mean, I know I've been very critical of in the past, but I don't mind open world stuff when it's meaningful, or at least well explained within the world. Here, it feels just kind of like a bunch of cobbled together nonsense that exists solely for you to do, and they just kind of invented an awkward lore reason as to what it all is. I know technically, if you want to get really into it, most games do that, but here it just really didn't feel right. Most of the exploration gives you materials for simple crafting systems that allow you to make healing and other items, upgrades for capacities, and stuff you can dump into your equipment and level it up. It's pretty simple. It's not super addictive or anything, but it works. Now, what I do really like is the gear itself and the progression of skills. The skill tree allows you to unlock new abilities, but also grow existing abilities by finding these certain bookshelves at home bases that you select a skill and focus on accomplishing an achievement with it. Say like kill 100 enemies while dodging or something, that then allows you to go back and unlock the next layer of that skill in your tree, like go from your blast attack from level 2 to level 3. It's a simple but smart way of doing things, and I like progressing along with it. The gear as well, you know, all of it looks cool, the character design is pretty cool, and it's all simple and straightforward, but it's at least satisfying to dump things into it all to make the stats stronger, and also equip smaller side buffs if you want to prioritize, say, more damage or health or critical bonuses and stuff. Also, for extra little perks, you can find certain different templates for painting your character's nails. Haven't really seen that in a game before, so points to that creativity, I guess. Ultimately, man, it just doesn't quite come together. Like I said, for me personally, wasn't a fan of the world they built and seemingly massive amounts of lore they spent time on. I just didn't want to pursue side quests. I didn't want to explore that much. I just kind of liked the combat and traversal, and that wasn't really quite good enough for me. You know, little issues with the camera lock-on system are the least of it. The game is repetitive, from the encounters down to the music. The environments are sparse and don't look great, and technically, like, the performance behind it ain't too hot either. Ultimately, I'm just disappointed because it had potential. Hey, it might still be for you. I might be harsh on this one. They put out a demo a few weeks back, and credit where credit is due. I'm glad they did that. They showed you the game. They let you play it. I'm glad they were upfront. So if you didn't like the demo, I don't know, you might not like the rest of the game. But if you didn't hate the demo or kind of enjoyed it, then you might like seeing what else the game has in store for you. Just don't expect anything too groundbreaking. For me, sometimes, flaws and all, a game can just come down to, like, is it memorable? And I'm probably going to forget this one pretty quickly. I really hate to say that. Clearly, a lot of work was put into this. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And that's how Before You Buy works. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, a bunch of information, and my personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours down in the comments. The game is out, so you definitely probably got some takes on this one if you've played it. Would love to hear what you're thinking. Let us know whatever you think about Forspoken. Hopefully this helped you out, steered you in the right direction. Again, sorry it's late, but hey, it is what it is. Clicking a like button does help us out. Thank you. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
I wouldn't say good exactly.
Yeah.